Hey, what's up? It's Newton with GolfWRX. We're back down here in the shop, and today we're going to be talking about something that's pretty interesting because it's in the forums a lot. A lot of people want to try doing this, but they don't really know where to start, and it's build their own set of single-length irons. So as you know or may not know, on our Two Guys Talking Golf podcast on GolfWRX, I've started playing with single-length irons. Now, in the forums, I see a lot of people who ask, hey, I've got a backup set, or I've got my set, or I want to try single length, but I don't want to go buy a set. So how do I turn this backup set or gamer set into a set of single length? Now, the hardest thing about changing something to single length is head weight. So a lot of people will think, oh, it's loft and lie. No, that's actually pretty easy. Loft and lie, there's not a huge change, and any good club builder could bend those irons for you. The biggest thing is head weight. So you're going to base a single length set off either a 7-iron, 8-iron, 6-iron, whatever iron you're most comfortable with. For me, it's going to be a 7-iron, and what you're going to do is have to get all the head weights to match. So 4-through pitching wedge, gap wedge, sand wedge, whatever it is, you're going to have to get them all to match, and that's the hard part. Now, going up, your 4, 5, 6, whatever irons are above what you pick. So we're going to go with 7-iron here. So every iron above 7-iron is lighter. So as you go up from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4, those iron heads all get lighter as you go up. And to those, adding weight is pretty easy. You get lead tape, slap it on the back. It's going to be quite a bit. And you'll get them to that head weight that you desire. The problem is going down. So when you get to that 8, 9 pitch, those heads are all heavier, and you need to remove weight from them. And with my set here that I'm working with, which is a set of PXG 0311s, the previous gens, I found out that you can just remove some screws. And the weights in these heads are heavy enough where if you remove a couple screws from each head, they'll actually get to your target weight really easy. I thought I was going to have a cool clickbaity title where I destroy these by grinding the backs off and all that. It ended up being a lot simpler than I thought. Remove a few screws, you're good to go. Now, with a normal set of irons that doesn't have movable weights, like a PXG set, you are going to have to find a way to remove weight from those irons. It's either going to be drilling by what they call porting, which is drilling holes into the back of the head to remove material, or taking a grinding wheel or sander and sanding or grinding off part of the back to remove that weight. And that is either going to destroy the set or, it's not reversible. So, if you decide, hey, this isn't for me, those irons aren't going back to the way they were without a bunch of lead tape or something like that to bring the weight back up. So that is the biggest thing about getting single-length irons to play the way they should. So the next thing you have to think about when you're doing a single-length set of irons is shafts. Now, there's two thoughts on how to set up the shafts for your irons. The first thought is to take all your shafts, tip trim them just like a 7-iron, or buy, if you have taper tip heads, buy 7-iron shafts, 7, 8 of them, whatever you need, and then install them that way, and then just butt trim them to the correct length. The other thought is that you take a progressive set of taper tip, so 4-through pitching wedge or 3-through pitching wedge, whatever your set is, and install those and butt trim them, or in the case of graphite, you would actually progressively tip each shaft for its iron and then butt trim it to length. So there's two thoughts there. From what I've understood and talked to people about, the option of a progressive set tipping and putting them in these heads is what I'm going to do. From what I've heard, a little bit stronger players find more success with that than they do just slightly tipping maybe a little bit and playing all 7-irons. So I'm going to go with that route. Now, the shafts I chose for this build are the new Project X Catalyst 80. So the Catalyst 80 is a new shaft from Project X. I chose it because, one, it's new. Two, it has a different structure that actually replicates steel, closer to steel than any other graphite shaft they've made. It also has a reinforced tip section for a little more accuracy and stability. And also, it has a 6-inch tip section. So what that means is that there's 6 inches from the very end of the shaft up before it starts tapering that you can tip these shafts and adjust them as you need. So it gives you a lot of flexibility when building your set. So I'm going to go with the 80-gram catalyst here, and I'm going to tip all these for 4-through pitching wedge, because that's what iron heads I have, And then after that set, I'm going to butt trim them all to 37 inches, which is based on the set I was fit for earlier in the year. Now, with tipping or with trimming and prepping these tips, we'll get into that. So let's start getting these ready to go. All right, so once you get everything glued up, which I showed you how to glue shafts into heads back in a video when I reshafted a wedge and also a putter. So if you want to take a look at that, you can go back and reference how to do that there. I already glued these up and they're ready to go, just finishing the gripping on them. Now I did notice something in the forums. There was a guy asking, his grips were getting stuck like halfway on. And the biggest thing is you got to go quick with grips. So once you put your build-up tape or your double-sided tape on your shaft here, you definitely want to use a good amount of solvent. So go ahead and put a little in the grip, and then put some solvent on the actual grip tape, and you can be pretty generous with it. And then take your grip that has solvent in it, give it a little shake, pour it on the shaft there, and then when you get this grip on, you got to go quick right away. And you might get a little splash out there, which is why I wear this great shop apron. But then once you have your grip on, you can kind of wipe off any of the excess here with a towel. I like to use old golf towels. And then set it down and check the alignment on it. Then once the alignment's good, you can go ahead and set it aside and let it dry. It should just take about 15 to 20 minutes depending on temperature or whatever. So now that those are all built here, we'll be able to go through and quickly bend them, and then we should be good to play. So we'll bend them up. All right, so once you get everything built and glued up and gripped, you need to bend your set to go to single length. Because with single length, everything has to be a 7-iron lie angle. So typically a 4-iron is going to be a little more flat. Pitching wedge, 9-iron are going to be a little more upright than a 7-iron. So you need to go through and make these all the same lie angle. Now for me, this is going to be 63 degrees. That's based off a set I got fit for back in February. So I'm basing these all off that. So I'm going to bend this a couple degrees upright to get it to 63. Now loft I'm going to pretty much keep the same. Everybody I've talked to in the industry who deals with single length, they don't really change the lofts much. I did make my pitching wedge and 9-iron 1 degree weak because I did notice that those were going a little far. But my longer irons, I seem to hit the pretty consistent distance. So I'm going to leave the loft the way it was. I'm going to bend the lie angle a little upright. So when you put these in your bending machine, and of course every bending machine is a little different, there's going to be some type of bar that you can line up the grooves with. So it's so that way you know the iron is in there correctly. It's in there straight. So you'll line up on this Mitchell machine. There's a bar there that I'm going to line up the grooves with, so I know it's in the correct spot. And then I'm going to tighten down kind of all the points on it to lock it in securely. And this one here has got a digital meter on it, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. And my lie angle on this one here is 63.5. So I actually need to go a bit flat. I don't know why this was so upright. Maybe something I was experimenting with before. So, like I said, I want to go 63 degrees. So I'm actually going to make this a half a degree flat. Most irons you're going to have to change about a degree, maybe a little more, give or take. But this one here, loft, like I said, I'm not going to change that. I'm just going to change the lie angle. And then you're going to take your bending bar, and this one's got an adjustable end on it to fit around the hosel. And you're going to clamp it around the hosel and make sure it's secure. And you want to line this bending bar up with the shaft so you're not changing the loft too much. And you want to gently just move it a little bit at a time in order to change that lie angle. That's spot on 63. You don't want to just yank it down. You want to just kind of a little bit at a time move it, check it. A little bit at a time, check it. Because you don't want to snap any hosels. Now with forged clubs, you can move them quite a bit. Anything cast, you're going to be pretty limited to a degree or two, depending on the head. But like I said, once you clamp it in there, don't go too fast. Just a little bit at a time, and then check your progress. So once you've got that dialed in, you can basically unclamp it, and your set is ready to go to the range and give them a shot and see how you like them. So that is the quick kind of Cliff Notes version of making a single length set of PXG 0311s. So if you want to try it with your set at home, go right ahead and let me know how it works for you. But anyway, if you have any questions, comments, leave them for me, and I will try to answer them the best I can. If not, this is another episode of The Shop, and we'll see you next time.